Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, both the Bitcoin price and the Ethereum price are very close to breaking levels, and the daily RSI is showing extremely similar signals as well, but more on that later in the video. Definitely stick around. First of all, just giving you a quick update on what the US stock market did today. This right here is the Nasdaq 100 index on the daily time frame, and right now we're still seeing the Nasdaq 100 struggle around this golden pocket level of resistance. And as I've been talking about for the past few days, this golden pocket level of resistance is extremely important for the Nasdaq 100 to break above, because otherwise, if we see a strong rejection from this important level of resistance, then we could start playing out another significant move to the downside. But for now, considering the fact that the Nasdaq 100 index is still really just testing this level of resistance, and we don't have a lot of confirmation for the breakout to the upside, but at the same time, we don't have a lot of confirmation for any rejection, at least as of right now, which means we just need to wait and see over the coming days what happens next for the Nasdaq. And obviously, as soon as we start seeing some more confirmation on this chart right here, I'll be sure to let you know about it in these videos. And if you're looking at the daily RSI for the Nasdaq 100 index, you can see that over the past couple of days, this hasn't really changed all that much. So it's still very close to overbought territories, which technically means the market is starting to get a little bit too overheated, and we could be due for some sort of cool off, whether that's a sideways consolidation or a bit of a pullback. But either way, it's very likely, based on the RSI alone, that we're due to see a cool off in the stock market within the next month or so. But anyway, getting into the Bitcoin part of this video, this right here is the daily Bitcoin chart. And first of all, if we're looking at the daily Bitcoin RSI, at the time of recording this video, the daily Bitcoin RSI is slightly below this important line of support. And so far, as of right now, we've seen one daily candle close with the daily Bitcoin RSI below this upwards trending line of support. Now, if over the next few days we end up seeing a bit more of a bounce in the RSI back above this line, then this was essentially a fake out to the downside. But if what we see over the next couple of days is further confirmation for a break to the downside in the daily Bitcoin RSI, then obviously that is not good for the larger moves in the Bitcoin price here on the daily charts, because obviously over the last 2 months or so, we've seen a bullish move, and this type of move, especially what we saw in just the last 1 month, is extremely similar to what we saw in the first quarter of this year. And obviously, for those of you who are watching my videos around 1 to 2 months ago, right back here when Bitcoin was well below 19,000, you would know that I was saying in my videos back then that Bitcoin is due to see a bullish move very similar to what we saw in the first quarter of this year. But now that we've seen that bullish move, we do have to be careful about some of these signals that we've seen previously on the charts, because if you simply take a look at the last couple of times where we saw a break to the downside in the daily Bitcoin RSI, that essentially marked the end of that bullish time period and entered into another bearish time period. But like I said, for the Nasdaq 100 index, we still need to see some more confirmation here on the daily time frame when we're talking about these larger moves in the market, because as of right now, we can see that the daily Bitcoin RSI, even though we've seen one daily candle close below support, it's currently only just below this level of support and could potentially break back above it. We just need to wait and see over the coming days to get some more confirmation when it comes to the larger moves in the market. And speaking of the larger moves, we still have that rising wedge pattern that is forming on this daily time frame. But as of right now, we haven't yet confirmed a break below support in the price action on the daily time frame. And obviously, I'll make sure to keep you updated as soon as we start to see some more confirmation here on the daily time frame. But if we're zooming into the 12-hour Bitcoin chart, so far we have one 12-hour candle close slightly below this ascending line of support for that same rising wedge pattern I was just talking about on the daily time frame. And by the way, this upward trending line of support is currently coming into play at around 24.1k approximately. So if we see a decent pump in the price of Bitcoin and close back above around 24.1k and hold that level, then that would essentially invalidate any sort of potential breakout here on the 12-hour time frame. And so it's due to that reason why we need to see some more confirmation here when it comes to this rising wedge pattern on the 12-hour or the daily chart, for example. But with that being said, if we're zooming into the 4-hour time frame, we already confirmed a break below this rising wedge pattern, which I've been talking about over the last couple of days. And over the last couple of days, I've been mentioning that one of the most likely scenarios in the short term is choppy price action, but trending slightly more in the bearish direction just in the short term when it comes to these smaller moves in the market. And of course, not only do we have that bearish rising wedge pattern that is currently playing out, we also have an active bearish divergence here on the 4-hour time frame that is still currently playing out. But as I spoke about yesterday, the reason why I'm not expecting a sharp move to the downside, just in the short term at least, and instead expecting more choppy price action trending slightly in the bearish direction is due to the fact that we don't have a lot of bearish momentum in the 4-hour Bitcoin MACD. And so due to that, like I said yesterday, I'm not expecting a move like this, for example, just in the short term. Instead, I'm expecting a move more like the opposite of this, for example, how we're trending slightly in the bullish direction, but we're still seeing a lot of choppy price action. And obviously, over the past 1 to 2 days, this has been playing out as expected. We've seen a lot of choppy price action, but trending slightly more in the bearish direction. And as for some possible price targets to the downside, just in the short term, as I talked about yesterday, once again, we do have some short-term support at around 23.6k to 23.7k. And anything below that level, if we simply break that short-term support level, then it's very likely we could retest this range of support, which is coming into play in between around 22.4k and around 22.7k. So those are the two main levels of support that I'm currently watching for Bitcoin in the short term. And as for resistance, we have the 5-day moving average currently coming into play at around 24.2k to 24.3k. And just above that, we also have this range of resistance just up here, which goes all the way up towards around 25,000. But anyway, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this right here is the daily Ethereum chart. And if we're looking at the Ethereum RSI, over the last 3 days, we've seen a decent cool off in the RSI after we reached into overbought territory. So this is actually a good sign for Ethereum, because as I've been saying for the past few days, we need to see some sort of cool off before attempting any sort of breakout above the golden pocket. Because otherwise, if Ethereum just continues going straight to the upside above the golden pocket level of resistance without seeing any sort of cool off, then the daily Ethereum RSI would quickly end up in overbought territories again, telling us that we're due to see another cool off. And so if that happened, if we saw a breakout above the golden pocket sooner rather than later, it's highly likely that that would not be a successful breakout because we'll be way too overheated. So it would actually be healthier for this uptrend if we see more of a cool off, whether that means a sideways consolidation or a bit more of a pullback. Either way, that will help reset the daily RSI back down towards neutral levels, giving us more room to the upside later on. And so as of right now, that's still one of the most likely scenarios on the daily time frame for Ethereum, considering we have not broken this bullish trend, at least as of right now. And by the way, this golden pocket, if you're new to the channel, is coming into play at around 2.1k to 2.2k. But anyway, if we zoom into the 12-hour Ethereum chart, we can see that we're still technically forming this rising wedge pattern, which is statistically more likely to break to the downside than to the upside. And right now, this line of resistance is coming into play at around 2060, so pretty close to that golden pocket. And this line of support is coming into play at around 1860. And so basically, if the Ethereum price confirms a break below that ascending line of support, then that would obviously confirm a break from this rising wedge pattern. And if that's the case, then the first technical price target for the rising wedge pattern would be coming into play at around 1600 approximately, which is where we do have some previous support. And if Ethereum breaks that level, then it's likely we could continue down towards this low, coming into play at around 1400, which is also the other technical price target for this rising wedge pattern. But I want to make it clear that these technical price targets do not even come into play at all while Ethereum is remaining above this ascending line of support. So before we can even target these lower prices, we first need to see a confirmed break below around 1860 to 1850 approximately. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour Ethereum chart, we're already sitting below that 5-day moving average, which is technically more bearish than bullish for the shorter term. But with that being said, Ethereum does not have that same rising wedge pattern that Bitcoin had on the 4-hour charts. And we also don't have that same bearish divergence for Ethereum in the short term, which technically means Ethereum just in the short term could be slightly more bullish than Bitcoin. And also, if we're looking at the 4-hour Ethereum MACD, this is showing a lack in bearish momentum at the moment, especially with the rising histogram. And so while this is happening, I'm not expecting a very sharp move to the downside in the Ethereum price, at least in the short term. And in fact, with the 4-hour Ethereum RSI already reset back towards neutral levels, like what we saw back here or back here, for example, it's very possible that if Ethereum breaks back above this 5-day moving average, which is coming into play at around 1930 to 1940, then if that happened, we could potentially play out another leg to the upside within this bullish trend, because obviously this bullish trend as of right now has not currently broken, which means if Ethereum can get back above that moving average, this short-term cool-off could potentially just be like this cool-off or this cool-off, for example, before we resume the bullish trend later on over over the coming days. But while the price of Ethereum is still below that 5-day moving average, we're technically still within this short-term cool-off. And while this is happening, I would expect the next major support for Ethereum just in the short term to come into play at around 1770, so just below 1800. But whether or not Ethereum stays within this cool-off, or if we confirm a breakback above that moving average and flip more bullish again, either way, you can actually make money on all of these moves. If you simply watch one of these videos popping up right here on your screen, the video in the top left of your screen shows you how to make money if the price is going either up or down, and the video in the bottom left of your screen shows you how to make money if the price is chopping around sideways. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.